Under the weight of your advice, I wear a suitcase under each one of my eyes. Finally, I know now what it takes. It takes money and aeroplanes. If you lost me, let me go back to that bar in Tokyo, where the demons from my past leave me in peace. I'll be animated every night. The grass will be greener on the other side, and the vampires and wolves won't sink their teeth. I'm sick of dancing with the beast.
We're live. Welcome to Digital Renegade Podcast. I'm your host, Dashing Rogue, and I'm with my frequent sidekick, Artistic Layman.
They're here. Okay, now everybody be cool because our neighbors seem very cool.
You there, Luke?
They're, what's the safe way to say this? They're
black and you're gross.
Wait, aren't I supposed to want black friends?
I'm brown.
Oh, what do I pay them
Why don't you
for?
act like I'm a
Can you hear
trophy?
me?
Well,
Can you hear? Did you hear none of that?
I can hear. I didn't hear a single thing. And the truth be told is, thank God I'm out here next week. Next week, I get the hell out of this fucking joint. And yeah, it is a fucking joint. I'll fucking flat out say it. I'm gonna, one of the things I'm gonna do, and the one thing I have power over, is I had the power over the fucking going to Yelp and giving these motherfuckers a bad review. Like, that is the one thing. Can you hear me still? Because I feel like I'm being gaslighted. Like, every time I say something, I'm like, I have to repeat myself. I give the best. I pour my heart out into the fucking mic, and the goddamn internet throttles me because, God forbid, I actually have access to the internet. Fucking bastards. I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome. For those of you who didn't know, that was the Wombats, Vampires and Wolves Tokyo. Great song. Love their work. They're a bit too new age for me, I should say. Or new wave, I guess you could say. I like them. But anyway, welcome everyone. Hello, Holy Mystic, and welcome. So yeah, I'm getting out of here soon. Rogue, how much more has Cali crumbled this week? We will tell you that, Holy Armored Ghost. It's official. There's worse than the vaccines cause autism crowd. It is. I know. There are people out there who think that apparently the vaccines cause demonic possession, like it's fucking supernatural and the Croatoan virus or something. Like, legitimately, I follow, what is his name? What the fuck is his name? RuleTheWasteland.com. SecretOfTheInternet.com, RuleTheWasteland.com. And apparently they're saying that there's some, like, prepper online or whatever. I think she's probably a new ager. And she's saying that the vaccines cause demonic possession. Now, I don't believe that to be the case. I really, really don't believe that to be the case. But, every time we talk about free speech, we keep platforming these people who say, oh, it's demonic possession. It's not demonic possession. I'm more inclined to believe that it's going to give you a really, really bad disease on one hand. I don't believe that to be the case, however, because Susan, be nice to me. I'm a good little boy. I'm a good boy. I get all my tendies anyhow. But yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome. Yeah. So Luke, how was your week?
It's a lot less. Not very busy this week. I'm just trying to get through the month. Can you hear me?
Watch the stuff. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh wow, we're separated by time now.
We're separated by we are separated by time, and apparently I'm going back to my apartment, and if they let's just say that if I'm trying my hardest right now to get into Arizona, get that promotion and get into Arizona. That's the main objective, because I'm not, like, one of the things I don't want to be is I don't want to be a mooch. I've never taken government handouts from I don't take unemployment. I don't do that. I don't believe in it. I don't like it. I think that you should just meet, like, for you to take unemployment, it makes sense for you to take money so you can pay the bills and stuff like that. You should have money saved up anyhow. Dave Ramsey oftentimes talks about having $10,000 in the bank just for a nest egg, so you have, like, fuck you money to a certain degree, right? But the majority of the people I've encountered don't even want to save up 10,000, let alone 1,000 for something to happen, right? But I don't want to go into Arizona with no job and just become a mooch. I don't want to be that. I don't want to just immediately jump onto welfare. What type of shit does that send to anybody? How can I claim to be a man of the right if I immediately jump ship from California and start getting on welfare? I will be nothing more than a fucking slave. Now, that being said, Armored Ghost says, this winter is the dark winter. Power outages, crumbling infrastructure, food scarcity. Well, let me say this about the food scarcity and the crumbling infrastructure. And this is something where I really do believe there's a little bit of propaganda war at play. Luke, this was shown, I believe, in one of Mr. Obvious's videos. Here you go. I will send this to you right now. This is the maritime traffic map. You can put it on the screen on the viewer. By the way, we're gonna have to when I go back to California, when I get back to my original apartment, I'm gonna have better internet, so I could start streaming myself if I want to, and I can also do some more Call of Duty. And I'm gonna stream Call of Duty. I'm also gonna stream a bunch of other stuff, but I'm gonna have way better internet access. So this is all the ships that are in that are shipping all over the place. Now, when we talk about having scarcity, we need to ask ourselves, what do we mean by scarcity? Where are all these shortages happening? Like, I have not seen a single shortage where I'm at, right? Yeah, I know. I didn't realize that a lot of these shipping containers go all the way up into Mississippi. I didn't realize that. But, like, I'd say the best place to be is near the coast. Near the coast is where I'm not seeing any supply shortages. And the reason why is because we get first dibs by being next to the water. Being next to the coast and being next to the shipping lanes gives us priority access. And I say priority access, I mean priority access because, let's be frank, as much as I love Arizona, Texas, and middle America, they're not the type of people who get access to resources very quickly. They need truckers. They need people who can drive the cars long distances to resupply. That being said, my advice to you people: buy your turkeys now, buy your hams now, buy your food now, buy all the things you need right now. It's going to be a long haul. When I get back into my apartment, I'm going to be topping off the ammunition and topping off supplies, because I'll be frank with you, it's going to get bad. I don't think it's going to get nearly as bad like Civil War bad, but I want people to understand that a lot of Twitter, like the problem with Twitter is that we don't get a filter, and we lose context. So I think there was a picture, I believe, of somebody draping over there was a grocery store where they draped over a bunch of over the shelves, and they draped over, I believe, it was like a banner or something like that, showing all the food and all a fully stocked shelf, but it was actually fake. Did you see that, Luke?
I did not. I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, so on Twitter there was apparently a bunch of I guess a tapestry setup that was specifically for a poster or a banner showing that all the food is there, but it's actually not, and it's a bunch of cornflakes and crap like that. And if you type in bare shelf Biden, you'll probably find it. But everyone's pissed off with Biden. I'm at the point where I think that Biden might very well get removed if we play our cards right. Here's the problem, though. I'm of the opinion that we get one more shot at this. If we don't make it in the election in the next terms, they steal it again, we're going to go after them. It's going to get hot. And I want to get out of here. I want to get out of California, but at the same fucking time, I've asked my brother, hey, have you seen any supply shortages? Luke, have you seen any supply shortages in Arizona?
The shelves aren't quite as full as they were a couple years ago, but so far we're not having toilet paper shortages.
Right, but my main thing for you is to stock up on water. Stock up on water. If it starts raining, you might want to start collecting water as well. You know how to collect water, Luke?
Well, we don't really have a lot of rain, so.
Well, yeah, but you have monsoons, right?
Right. Yeah, but but I know how to catch water that way. It's just I never had to.
Well, you might have to. There's a new time for everything. Welcome, Chad Dad. Triple X says, is getting a remote job right now a good idea? Yes. Yes, it is. income is very important right now. You have to make sure that you get income in, and you got to get money in as much as you can. The left is Anthony Legato of politics. I don't know who Anthony Legato is. Do you know who that is, Luke?
Anthony Legato?
Anthony Legato. Legato. Let's see. Anthony Legato. Oh, God. Oh, please. Not this guy. Oh, I can already tell I'm not going to like him. Did he block me on Twitter? No, he did not block me on Twitter. Not block me on Twitter yet.
Oh,
usually I get usually. What's up?
Anthony Legato, 25, identified as a man fatally shot by deputy on I-35 near Mora. Is that what this is?
I don't know. I mean, you can ask Holy Mystic. Let's see. Well, you could ask Triple X. I should not. What is his name? Let's see if it. Oh yeah, Triple X. You can say that. But yeah, welcome everyone. We got an interesting podcast tonight. One of the things. Let's get started, shall we? Okay. Let's see what we got here. Let's start. So Luke, besides Styx, Hex, and Hammer, basically having friends with imaginary friends that are of the owl or the avian variety. He also apparently talked about. He's made 2 videos that I want to talk about specifically. One of the videos he wanted to talk about, what I wanted to talk about, was this one right here. He's talking about how Christianity is in decline in the West, and I believe that is the case not because of Christianity, but because of multiculturalism. And I mean that in the sense not the multiracialism, but more of the multiculturalism in the sense that we've brought in a bunch of Muslims, a bunch of Indians and foreigners coming into our country, and they're allowed to preach and practice. But the problem I see is that we're losing our culture as a result. This country was founded on Judeo-Christian values. It was not even Judeo-Christian values, but like Protestant values, WASP values, if you will. And we're not. We're going to lose the spirit behind the law if we continuously allow these people to run amok. And I got another one here. Can you play it, Luke? Let me hear it.
Intellectually. All right, everyone, it's time for the occult, video number 316. Christianity in much of the Western world is steeply in decline. Why is this actually happening? Because, again, this is the civilized world, by and large, as opposed to the part of the world that's not so developed. Maybe intellectually in some cases, depending on the political system. Why, therefore, would Christianity be collapsing? Now, the secularists, they like the atheistic sorts, like a TJ would say, well, people are getting more educated. They've got no time for imaginary sky friends. The Christians would say it's, usually it's the devil or some malevolent political social force doing
Why does he keep
propaganda coming, so there are some Christian movements.
I don't think that people say it's the devil. I've never heard that it's the devil doing it. Have you heard that, Luke?
I'm sure there are some evangelicals who'll do this, like Biden is the servant of the devil, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think it's a straw man and unfair to say. Like most of the times I've heard people say that the reason that Christianity is in decline is because economics is one, incentivizations from the government to not be a Christian. You get more money to be like I'll give you a perfect example. My church right now, we're a traditionalist Catholic church, right? The rent to be able to rent out a venue so we could have our mass, it's too high. We can't find a place to hold the church. We can't hold it. We can't hold it anywhere. We're getting kicked out next month. On November, I think the 17th, I believe. So that means that we're going to have to find a new place. And I've told the canon, I've told the pastor, I've told the priest. Can we just have like a tabernacle set up? I mean, it's getting to the point where, we have to be able to, we're basically like the Rebel Alliance. We're going through home bases like the Rebel Alliance from Star Wars. And we aren't getting any help either. There's so many laws in California right now that are set up in such a way that we can't have, let's say, a church set up because of the zoning laws. Same reason why you can't open a business in your home because of zoning laws. Same concept here. So I think it's a mischaracterization to say that it's all the devil. I think a lot of it also is secularization and the fact that Christian values are just being laughed into the fucking ground, laughed at, despite the fact that it's one of the founding principles of this country. Granted, yes, the majority of the founding fathers were Masons and they were theists. Some of them were Christians, not all of them. But the whole purpose behind it was they were trying to, when they talk about freedom of religion, they weren't talking about self-worship, ego worship like Satanists oftentimes talk about. They weren't talking about neo-paganism or anything like that. They were talking specifically about European, white Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, preferably, faiths, denominations, whether it be the Anglican Church or the Baptist or Methodist. They didn't want Catholics either. So that's something that has to be taken into account. Keep going, Luke.
Movements that are growing, or at least remaining steady, tends to be the more religious, like the more religiously orthodox movements in much of the Western world that are declining overall in membership. The Catholic Church would come to mind. Keep in mind, as an absolute total, worldwide especially, Catholicism is still a big balloon and still growing. That's not because of growth of the religion as a proportion of the population in Europe. It's not because of the U.S. and Canada. It's because of parts of West Africa and Latin America. Now, I think that the reason why is that people are losing their faith, and really it's the fault of the organized religion itself. Now, of course, a Protestant and a Catholic aren't the same thing. For the Catholics, it's fundamentally the fault of the Pope. You went from a relatively religious stringency in even the 2000s.
I'm sick and tired of this bloody...
What about?
No, I'm getting sick and tired of it because I keep glitching out because of this fucking, stream. I'm gonna fucking give him a nasty email or a nasty fucking Yelp review because this is insane. I can't even run a podcast out of my own home, because of this fucking bad internet access. So keep going, though. We'll just power through it.
Current Pope, Pope Francis of Catholicism, he does essentially a 180, and the problem is that if you consider that social movement to be progress, you can't simply smack people in the face and say, oh yeah, God changed his mind all of a sudden now that I'm here. It didn't work the way I think the Catholic cardinals that nominated the Pope to be in that position. I think that they were expecting that because he was reasonably personable, that he was a social media Pope, and that would suddenly draw young people in. Young people have less time, generally speaking, to go to church. They're busy doing other shit anyway. These days, it's dog eat dog, and everyone works fucking 7 days a week to get ahead anyway, because we live in a world of globalism. So, people have less time relatively to go to church. Then you have certain Protestant movements. In their case, in many cases, I think it's televangelism. And really the fundamental problem of Christianity's decline in parts of the West begins with that, especially in the 80s. You get these slicked back, sleazy brand managers, essentially similar to what the Pope has been for Catholicism over the last few years. They're not religious at all. I doubt most of these people even believe in the God that they espouse. They're in it for money, which is why you constantly catch these people in various scams and scandals. So you got fucking Peter Popoff and Pat Robertson and Joyce Meyer, Charles Stanley, Billy Graham Jr.
No, fuck you. You don't get to bash Stanley. You don't get to bash Stanley. You can fuck with Joyce Meyer, that little bitch, but you're not going to fucking mess with Charles Stanley. And the thing that really ticks me off is he names the big ones. Joel Osteen. Go ahead and bash Joel Osteen. That's fine. He actually pushes the prosperity gospel, which is a heresy, by the way. But he bashes Joyce Meyer. He bashes Charles Stanley. What was the gentleman that Beckloff was going after? The guy who was basically saying we should put child porn on his critics' computers?
Oh, yeah, it was James McDonald.
Yeah. Why aren't we talking about James McDonald? He'll bash the fucking big guys, but he'll never bash the specific groups of people. And this is sort of where, I got to ask, is this coming from a charitable perspective, or is he just saying Christianity is dying, bro? Just join the pagans and paint your dick blue. I got to ask, is this specifically because he hates Christianity, just has a pathological hatred towards it? And as a result, it colors his perception? Or is he actually going to call out the actual problems within the church? Now, don't get me wrong. James McDonald. That's the gentleman, Gameston. Yes. Christian of all people says, Christianity is collapsing in the West because Christianity has become liberal. Yes, it has. It has. It's become antinomian, I would also argue, that they don't actually stand for anything. People talk about, abortion. Well, what are you going to do to get rid of Planned Parenthood? When are we going to start saying that the human rights are the fetus rights? When are we going to start actually saying, hey, this counts as a human? Now, this piece of shit here, this fucking guy, Sticky, he believes that, humans have rights, but the fetus doesn't have a right. So the question I have is, why don't you just give it up the kid up to adoption? Why don't you just, give it up for adoption? I'm sure there are a lot of people who've been vaccinated and people who are sterile, not that they're correlated, mind you. They would love to have a kid. Some couples can't have kids. People get old and they become sterile. Why don't you give it up for adoption? Why do, like, you don't have to kill the fucking kid. But, you know, again, this is the difference between egotism and individualism. Individualists care about the rights and liberties of everybody, not just, you know, not just themselves. But the egotists, they only care about themselves. They only care about what they want. It's not my will be done, not thy will be done. Continue.
Haggart there, who literally still does ministry on a much smaller level, he got caught. I mean, his big thing was drugs are bad, being gay is bad, and then he gets found with an 18-year-old male escort and a bunch of crack and methamphetamine in a hotel room. These people, by and large, do not live the way that they preach, and so that undermines the system itself. Now, I'm making this video as someone who is anti-religious in the sense of organized religion, not anti-spiritual, and at this point I'm more ambivalent when it comes to like what faith or spirituality people particularly follow. I don't care. But Christianity as a proportion of the population is inarguably in decline in most parts of the West. It would be, I would think, fruitful if Christians would look at the situation instead of blaming the devil or some conspiracy on one end.
Nobody is blaming the devil, Stick. Shut the fuck up. No one is blaming the devil here. In fact, most of the time I've heard from Christians, both Protestant and Catholic, that the devil doesn't need to do jack shit if you're going to do it yourself. If you're going to stab yourself in the back, if you're going to be the guy who does the drugs, who does the alcohol, who makes shit decisions, the devil doesn't have to do jack shit. All he has to do is say, do this, do that, and then you're the one who gets to do it. He shows you the door, you're the one who has to walk through it, okay? I really do. I got to stress this. I don't believe he actually is accurately representing Christianity here. And now I'm going to say, for the sake of argument, because I don't actually have a conversation with him yet, that this is a steel man, and it's a shit steel man. But I'm going to say he's a steel man. Okay, keep going.
If they go full on secular, like, well, I've lost my faith, the church is a lie, God is dead. On the other hand, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because a lot of them will still have that nagging belief because of their upbringing, and they've just decided to subscribe to the Amazing Atheist or something. It would be interesting if Christians would, maybe with a more cerebral mind, look at the situation and say, maybe there's a problem with the actual hierarchical structure of some of these churches. Again, there are some groups that aren't shrinking. I mean, the Amish community has been steadily growing for a very long time. They're having no problems. Of course, it helps when you have 6 or 7 kids on average, but you still have first world medical capabilities. So they're growing. Certain Mennonite-style movement spin-offs. I think Mormonism at this point, its heyday was decades ago. They've sort of stalled out. Catholicism's growing, but only as an absolute number. Again, like here in the Netherlands. It's been quite a while since the Dutch were particularly religious.
Yeah,
In fact,
and a lot of it, there are a lot of things. He's not wrong about the whole globalist aspect. He's not wrong about globalism. He's not wrong about the notion of that globalism is part of it. I mean, when you have an entire generation that has to basically be raised by television or have latchkey kids because mommy and daddy have to work to pay the bills, there's something wrong. Okay, now I don't think that's necessarily native to Christianity. I just think that people, generally speaking, are having less kids, and as a result, they have to be more practical. I think it was. Well, we'll talk about it as a different date, but basically one of the things we're dealing with now is we're dealing with a system where basically people have to compete against each other. They're having to compete against each other in a survival type of game. I think it's Sabaku-kei, I believe it is, in Japanese. It's a type of world type in anime, where you basically have people fighting each other like in Death Note, where young people are having to play by the rules to survive. It's very similar to that Squid Game. By the way, you ever heard of Squid Games, Luke?
I have, but I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either, but I want people to remember that Obama was the one who basically who owns a portion of Netflix. So you want to know why Netflix went woke? Because Obama owns it. The Obamas have been influencing Netflix.
Oh, well, that explains that.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of these, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, what are the political affiliations of a lot of these Korean people who make these films? Do you know anything about them? Like, I'd like to know who invented Squid Games. What were their political affiliations? Were they socialists? Were they communists? Were they, hyper-capitalistic, but they're state capitalists because they have to be, because they're right up above the North, and the North is going to attack them?
Hasn't that always been the case with entertainment?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say the North. I mean, I don't think it's always been the North, but I mean, in Korea, they have like a very, I want to say a borderline fascist monopoly on the medium of entertainment. Like J-pop and K-pop, they're great music, but when you start signing contracts, and again, they've seen instances where like K-pop stars can't have relationships, and J-pop stars are not allowed to ever date anybody because it damages the value and marketability of people wanting to get with them. So like, let's say I can't remember off the top of my head. I've talked about this in my podcast before, where we've had like one girl shave her head in Japan because she was found out to have a boyfriend, and as a result of that, it damaged the reputation of the band because everyone wants to go with the single hot chick who's singing all wonderful things about them. That's another example of what's going on because let's be frank, the oligarchs are destroying our culture. They are. They have no respect. They only care about profits. And yes, this is capitalism. It has nothing to do with communism. It has nothing to do with socialism. It has everything to do with people caring more about profits than they do about people. And I've oftentimes said maybe we have to get into a position where doxing becomes the norm, because one of the things that works about doxing is it works in the sense that, you know, if I did something stupid in a small town, everyone would know me. I'd have a reputation. With doxing, we can now hold you to account. We can now go to Basil and say, hey, why'd you cut all those people, those American jobs? What are you going to do about it? You know, what are you going to do about it? You know, this is something that people need to understand, is that civic engagement is necessary. And we're not seeing any of that because everyone's working. Everyone's in the factory and they're letting their school teach their kids. So the main thing for to answer some of your questions is you're going to have to get a remote job and you have to get a higher paying job. That's the main objective. Like people, I oftentimes get accused of being a carnal Catholic, specifically because I want money, but not for myself, for my kids. So my wife doesn't have to work. So I bust my ass in the coal mine or the salt mine or, God forbid, the fucking Silicon Valley to make it. You know, now I'm going to read some chats, but continue playing, Luke.
Most atheistic in Europe or even in the world. I mean, aren't the Norwegians the most atheistic overall? Like they just, I mean, they're more used to burning churches, I think, at this point. With the black metal movement, get some Varg in there. But Christianity is on the wane largely because of its shitty leaders. They got decadent and they got rich and therefore corrupt. Started living completely differently from the canonical stories of the Bible. Like these people are supposed to live in poverty and be sort of communal with the other Christians. And go around, trying to cleanse lepers and stuff, and instead, they sit on a throne like the Pope does, or they drive a Rolls Royce and wear a Rolex. Well, that's not exactly the prosperity gospel bullshit. Very, very popular in the 90s and 2000s, especially. Just listen to, again, Joyce Meyer or something. Is Charles Stanley still alive? Hopefully that doofus croaked. These people are not really Christians, arguably. They're destroying the religion as a structure itself. It's funny, the thing destroying it, technically speaking, isn't even Christian in nature. And none of those people...
Don't bash Stanley on me, man. Don't bash Stanley.
Oh, but there is probably a good example of that. Like what he's talking about, there's actually a good joke about like the elite leaders who might be leading people astray just because of their decadent lifestyles.
Where?
What's his name? Well, they made a satire video about one of the pastors, like the devil takes on a disguise as one of the great prosperity preachers, and he teaches people, and through his teaching, he teaches people to embrace the evil heresy. And if I'm not mistaken, it's right about here. It is. I can put it on the screen.
Hey, Satan.
Oh, hey, what's up, Krampus?
Well, I heard you just designed another human suit where you're going to look like a faithful Christian preacher and then trick people into believing soul-destroying heresy. Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
Your house.
Yeah, but looks won't stop people from thinking I'm speaking the word of God, right?
Unless you completely offset them with your voice, they will. What are you going to sound like?
Like this?
Strong south wind, heat.
I'm not missing that dedication in Jerusalem.
Are you kidding me? You can't talk like
fucking sociopath.
Here's the best part, because apparently during when COVID first broke out, he said, "Whatever you do right now, don't you stop tithing."
Oh boy!
But here's the summary of the whole video.
Satan, come on! This guy you've invented is so transparently evil. There's no way that people will listen to him.
Yeah, I think they will.
No, they won't.
Pretty sure they will.
No, dude, they absolutely will not.
They just gave me $500 million.
What? Why?
Dude, humans are so enslaved by mammon and pleasure that they automatically see earthly prosperity as a sign that they've earned the love of God that they fear was not fully given to them as a free gift in the blood of Jesus. Thus, they will immediately throw all their money and trust in you if you promise them health and wealth in return.
No. In fact, let me just say this. There is such thing as the Protestant work ethic, and this is where I started bashing Protestantism. At least, no, not bashing it, but critiquing it. There are two types of the Protestant work. There are two sides of the Protestant work ethic. The notion that you just work, and if you have faith, God will reward you. And then there's the notion that because you have wealth is because you had faith. They're not synonymous with each other. One can be true and the other one cannot be. I've seen people who work their butt off and they are in destitute poverty. Does that mean that God doesn't reward them? No. It just can mean bad circumstances. Maybe he's at a shit job that doesn't respect his labor, doesn't respect him as an individual. It's possible. But that's one instance of Styx's critique of Christianity. But I found this other one very interesting, and we're going to start reading some super chats in a second. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to continue here. But I'll just say it right now. Don't give money to this piece of shit. In fact, if you're going to give money to anybody, pray about it. Now, that being said, I'm going to read some super chats before we continue. Let's see. Okay. D-legit typo. Okay. I personally love listening to Joyce Meyer. Good. Vote with your wallet. My advice, though, if you're going to donate to people, give material stuff, not money. I give money to people very, very specifically. If they're gonna, I need to know where the money's gonna go. If they're gonna give, I'm gonna give $100. That $100 go up the pastor's nose for all I know. I need to know where the money is gonna go. So oftentimes when I donate my time and my money, it's in the form of labor, it's in the form of goods. I'll give out food and I'll give out groceries before I give out money. Now let's continue. Let's see. Honestly, the immorality of some of clerics doesn't bother me as much as the fact that the church has completely abandoned its principles and the centuries of teachings. Yes, a lot of that is a problem, Christian. Let's see.
Here it is. Here's the better clip.
Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Well, but what if I have a really pious aura to me? What if I surround myself with a bunch of stuff that makes me feel like a really faithful Christian?
Like if you hung out with the poor and shunned the luxuries of this life? I mean, I guess that might work.
No, I was thinking more like...
He made that airplane so cheap for me, I couldn't help but buy it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's
no.
Keith Copeland is he's everything that people don't like about everyone thinks that he's the worst example of what Christianity is.
He needs to die. I'm not going to advocate violence, but he needs to be tarred and feathered. Okay, something needs to happen when he goes on the rack. Okay, you're making us all look bad, and I'll tell you, as a Catholic, I don't give a fuck. But when I see people defect and become, heathens, and they start doing this type of shit, it makes me want to, it makes me want to throw just, I don't know. It makes me want to do stuff that I can't say on YouTube. How about that? I'm talking about working a remote job. Tips for working remote. You want me to know. My advice, apply. Get something you could do remotely. I've oftentimes said that I think it's the Juniper Systems. If you have Juniper Systems and Juno OS, they're giving away their trade certificates for network management away on the internet for free. When this pandemic kicked off, I told people, get yourself these certificates, get these trade certificates. Even if you're not going to use them, they're great for bolstering your resume and show you that you weren't kicking the can down the road. Most of the time, if you're going to work remotely, just apply. It doesn't matter. Just shotgun it and say, can I work remote? I'm scared of the cooties. That's all I got to say about that. Let's see what else. Christian says, honestly, there's nothing wrong with the bishop in a castle or a palace. It's when the bishop doesn't leave the castle and only surrounds himself with the elites. That is true. That is, and not letting the peasantry or even the common man into the palace. That's another thing. Holy Mystic says the Bible doesn't tell us we have to be poor. We can be blessed with wealth as long as we do it. We don't put that before God. I guess that's what he's saying. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've always put God first. And the reason I put God first specifically is because I know where my money came from. I know the Lord helped me. And I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you this. So before I got a lot of money, before I got a lot of cash this week, I was kind of broke. I walked down the parking lot of the hotel and I found a $100 bill. No joke. Found $100, and again, that's an example of how the Lord has blessed me. I needed the money for gas, and I needed it for a bunch of other things. And sometimes it just happens. Now, the problem with Christianity and I would say, the metaphysical is that you can't measure for it. You can logically come to deduce something, logically, but you can't empirically measure for it. You just can't do it. So that means a scientific method won't work on God. Is God smarter than that? And at the same time, it's like looking at a perpetual motion machine. You can't measure for something that will never end. The experiment will never end, you know? Copland's church is literally up the street from Fort Worth. It literally has a hangar, an airfield. Really? Oh.
Yeah, his private jet and all that stuff.
I kind of want to put like some like sand in the private jet fuel, or like, you know, break the wing or something like that. Not because I don't think the guy deserves it. I really don't think he does. And I'll be frank with you, these people are evil. They need to be punished. They need to be punished severely, and the flock needs to be the one that does it. Not people like me. Like, I'm never going to hold a Protestant to the fucking Catholic standards. I'm never going to do that. Gameson says he actually has become kind of based in late 2020 regarding his mail as a whole. Copland is just goofy. Okay.
Yeah, the way that what he's referring to is the fact that when you make a donation to Copeland's church, they send you a letter with a signature by him, says that we've gone over this and we're praying on it, but really it's just a stamp. Like, it's not likely that Copeland ever read those messages or read those reports or even responded individually. He's just giving people the impression that he has.
Oh, I mean, so he's going full corpo then, huh?
Yeah, I forget what he said specifically about it. He probably gave out the impression that he doesn't care because that's just how he rolls. Because that's how he justifies his airplane purchase, because he has to be in multiple places, and so the plane is the most convenient way of doing that.
Alrighty. Well, this is the next one I wanted to talk about. What Styx did incorrect. This to me is very interesting to me, and I archived this as well because it's very important, given how the Satanists are entering in our culture, trying to undermine our social norms and institutions.
All right, everyone, it's time.
Let's see, what is this?
Yep.
Which one was this one? 3 types Satanism. Ooh, this should be interesting.
Time for the occult video number 318, 3 types of Satanism. Now, this is something that I've touched on before. Quite a few videos ago, I did touch on the fact that there were different types of Satanism. But of course, this is years later. Most people, unless they've gone through the whole playlist, probably have not seen that video. So I figured I'd cover it again in maybe a little bit more detail as well. Of course, there's been more satanic stuff that's happened. I don't mean satanic like, oh, in the sense that the devil is destroying the world. I'll get into the types of Satanism because, of course, I am, as of 10 or 11 years ago now it's been, for a brief time, I considered myself a Satanist. And in the category 1, that is atheistic Satanism. I've never believed in the devil and that sort of stuff. Like when I was a Christian, I had, I guess, a marginal belief in the bad guy of the Bible. Even then, I always was a little bit uncomfortable with the concept that people would suffer forever for temporal sinning. Wasn't really necessarily canonical anyway, so my skepticism about that, of course, evinced later once I studied a bit more about the religion and realized, oh, yeah, the basis for this is Gehenna. So you mean there is no hell? Wow, what the fuck was I afraid of? I could have been, having fun that entire. I could have been smoking weed and dating and stuff like that. But no, I had to go to church.
You can do that as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. When the Catholic doctrine on weed is that you just like that of, let's say, I'm not entirely certain about weed, but I do know you can drink. You can drink as a Catholic. Lord knows the Irish fucking the St. Paddy's Day, right? It's St. Paddy's Day thing, and then the feast days, right? We get drunk all the time, but we don't ever give up our rational inclinations. And that's one of the reasons why I don't do weed. I don't drink anymore because I give up. I lose my rational inclinations. And that's the main thing. You're not supposed to give up your rational inclinations when you're on a substance. If you were able to do LSD, I'd imagine you'd be able to, if you could keep your rational inclinations, it'd be good. But you can't because it's psychedelic and because drugs do this to people. So that's what I have to say about that. You can party, you can date. The issue here is you shouldn't be dating outside of the faith. That's the main one. You should not be unevenly yoked. Continue.
Wasn't that big a problem. There were some fun things about it. But anyway, here are the 3 main types of Satanism. The first is atheistic Satanism. That's the Church of Satan, its offshoots, its associated sort of spin-offs. LaVey was an atheist. He did not believe in the devil. I hear so many people, they're like, oh, LaVey was a devil worshiper, and he caused people to go to hell and stuff. He's the agent of Lucifer. He didn't believe in these things. He essentially took Catholicism, stripped it of the theism, repackaged it, inverting it into a mockery. So instead of a big flowing white robe, you have a black robe, and instead of God, instead of Jesus on the cross, you have the little dude in the corner jerking himself, dressed as the devil, and you have nudity and not really drugs. He wasn't into that, actually. Actually, he was desperately against the hippie movement. It's very interesting. He was almost a right-wing traditionalist, morally. A hell of a lot of people probably don't realize that his religion was loosely based off Might is Right by Ragnar Redbeard. It is a quasi blood and soil nationalistic libertarian fusion sort of document from the 1800s. It ain't no hippie shit. He cursed the hippies, actually, famously, in 1969, I believe it was. And Zeno was talking about that once in Charles Manson Superstar, if I remember correctly. But he and all of his offshoot groups basically just have to make money off.
Blood and soil nationalistic. Where have we heard that before, Luke? Blood. You know, first I heard it, oh my God, saying it's a libertarian, man, they can never be white nationalists. Well, apparently they are white nationalists. Apparently, and again, this video confirms what we already have seen with our own five senses, that these assholes have been trying to infiltrate the right wing. I mean, they're talking about making their own version of, I think it's of the Rand Corporation, I believe. They said that the Thule Society, not the Thule Society, the Abraxas Foundation was supposed to be a version of their own version of the Rand Corporation, which is a think tank designed for right-wing talking points and thought. So these guys are becoming political, and I keep telling people they're doing this, okay? And they're gonna, I guarantee you, what they'll do is they'll hide in the collective. They'll want to preach to be individualistic. They'll say, "Don't harm me, I'm an individual," and they use the individual meme to try to hide themselves and absolve themselves of accountability. Don't let them. Just like I tell people, don't buy into the glamour that they have some sort of magical power. You have God on your side, and you have the law on your side. We are in the right, they're in the wrong. Continue, Luke.
Off this, I'll sell membership to people. They're not getting anything out of it other than the spooky thrill and me playing the organ, and they get to see titties maybe. But that's the same as every other religion. See, as an atheist, he said, you know, here's the Pope. He makes all this money. These priests getting paid and stuff. They're dispensing horseshit. They give you a little bit of wine. It won't even give you drunk, and you tithe to them. Well, people will be able to pay me money for the same thing, which is nothing. He just mocked Catholicism, especially now. They're atheistic Satanists. As someone who was interested in the black metal movement, especially the underground side of it, there were dozens and dozens of Middle Eastern atheistic satanic bands that promulgated themselves in the 2000s, early 2010s, and they were anti-Islamic in their...
You don't fucking say, really. So they're anti-Islamic. So let me ask you, Sticks, I'm going to ask him if I ever see him. Those Islamic satanic groups, are they related to the Order of the Nine Angles? Serious question. Like, again, I've talked about how there was a group in let's say, the UK that had, satanic influence in it, white nationalist influence as well, separate from the whole, werewolf order of Satanism and the Boyd Rice and all the rest of those fuckers. And it's still happening. We've seen, I think it was Arthur Desmond, I believe. Arthur Desmond, he was basically a white nationalist who converted to Islam and killed all his comrades. I think it was in Florida or Georgia. And he joined the Order of the Nine Angles. And that guy, and the person who ran it was a man by the name of, I believe his name was David Mayrat. He was a Satanist, and he converted to Islam. So it kind of comes full circle, doesn't it? This is the reason I had this backed up, specifically to prove the point that these people are, in essence, a version of the shadow government, in the sense that they are basically, they're the shadow government in the same way that the council and I believe Hot Fuzz was a shadow government. For the greater good. That's the type of shadow government these people are. There's nothing magical about them, okay? They're the type of people who will go and meet at, brunch every month or so, and they'll discuss what the fuck. They'll basically collude, okay? They'll collude, and they'll do it the same way the city council does it, okay? Or let's say a fraternity or a bowling group. And that in itself, there's nothing wrong with that, but we need to do it as well. We as, Christians and we as, people on the right need to do it as well. I've oftentimes said that everyone aims for the federal, but they never focus on the local. We need to focus on the local because these guys are going to focus on the local because, let's be frank, they're outsiders. They have to start from the bottom. We don't have that luxury anymore to start from the top. We need to start from the bottom. Continue.
You're mocking, generally speaking, because if you're from Iraq or something like Tadnis, you're not mocking Christianity because it's basically absent. You probably have never even seen a Christian, at least an open one. You never saw anyone wearing a cross. You never saw Jesus movies or something. You saw Islam, and so it was a mockery, and that's happened there as well. Although less so because typically there you're risking your life. In the West, you're just risking ostracism or something like that. Now, number two, pagans. There are pagans out there that identify as roughly Luciferian or Promethean in form. Again, not necessarily theistic pagans. Most pagans, I would say, are not particularly theistic. They do not believe that Zeus literally exists. They do not believe that Odin literally exists. If there's a theistic belief, it's a quasi-New Age readaptation of ancient belief. And it's like, yeah, Zeus exists. He's basically an energy. He's a thought form or something that's been created. It's almost hippie religion. It's basically, I love it when some neo-pagans will say, I'm a proud neo-pagan. Those Wiccans are full of bullshit. You're the same thing, basically, unless you're a theistic pagan. As a pagan occultist, I get a little bit of a pass there because I can study literally everything and incorporate it and kind of build my own spiritual path. But I'm not claiming purism, of course. Now, pagan Satan.
Hang on. Pause it. Couldn't I do the same thing? Like he keeps saying, like again, I could study it as well. Luke could study it as well. Anyone can study it. It's not like there's something stopping you from studying it. You know, I think it's, what is the terminology? I think it's called apophatic theology. Apothesis. Do you know what that is, Luke?
Apple what?
Apophatic theology. Apophatic theology. It's the study of God through negation. I'll show it to you right here. Apophatic theology is also known as negative theology. It's a form of theological thinking and religious practice that attempts to approach God, but defined by negation. To speak it only in terms of what may not be said about the perfect goodness of God. It forms a pair together with cataphatic theology, which approaches God as a divine by affirmations and positive statements about what God is. So, for example, I've oftentimes talked about holiness, and here's the link, by the way. About holiness in the sense that when I was a Protestant, it was easy for me to say, oh, you know, I'm not Jesus, I'm not the Son of God, therefore I'm not Jesus, I'm not him, so I'm not holy. But now, as a Catholic, I have to now square the circle about saying, hey, now I have to make sure that, you know, Mary was born without sin, but she had the ability to sin, she didn't have original sin, and all this other, like it gets a heck of a lot more complicated. So theology is going to be, like apophatic theology, you can easily study the occult. You can study it through that. You can. I mean, I don't know why you would, but this notion that you can't do it. Well, I just did it. So what are you going to do? You know, this notion of, oh, you can't do it. Yes, we can. There's not nobody is forcing us not to do it. No one's saying to me, you can't go into that fucking metal store and wear goth stuff. No one's saying that, Sticks. Keep going.
Especially followers of Prometheus or Enki. I've met some before. They follow Enki. They are essentially part of the Sumerian religion. They just happen to follow the fallen guy or the liberator. Satan, to them, tends to be more of the liberating figure. That is, like Prometheus or Enki, as opposed to Hades, as opposed to the bad guy, quote unquote, of the religion, as opposed to Loki, the trickster, as opposed to Hades, the lord of the rather dreary Greek underworld before the Romans said, hey, maybe we can give people more hope if we tell them that there's a chance that they go somewhere nice when they die. Maybe that'll make our soldiers fight a little bit better. And so they literally overhauled and reinterpreted the religion just like people do nowadays. And then there's the third group, which is the smallest, and those are devil worshippers. And they come in two forms. Theistic Satanists tends to be associated with black metal or similar groups, sometimes goth movement, although more of them, I think, are atheists or even very religious Catholics. They just like black clothes. Met goths, most of them are Christian. Just so that we're aware of the idea that they're like a black-clad legion going to crush the church.
Awesome. Trump is not a criminal, Bannon is. And we're going to get into that. Trump is the good guy. He's the God Emperor, and Bannon may or may not be Horus. And from the to make a 40K analogy, first 01 first. At the same time, Oscar Toe, welcome, by the way. Sticks seems like a pretty good guy. He might be, but the more I look into this, the background of this stuff, the more I realize that people like Richard Spencer and Grinder Greg Johnson, and yes, you have to put the Grinder in there, Triple X. It's Grinder Greg Johnson. Never forget that. They all about the greater good. They're all about that. They're all about trying to rule people. And again, he talks about traditionalism. Traditionalism is not Norman Rockwell and apple pie. It's Julius Evola, racial caste systems, and cyclical cycles of history. Why is this a bad thing for politics? Because let's imagine, who's Enki? Enki, I believe it might be the Babylonian god, the Babylonian evil god, I believe. I'm fairly certain it might be Babylonian. But again, if you want more information about Oscar as well as First, there's a video on my channel. I could post a link in the description where I go over the satanic connection to white nationalism, and I will post that in a second.
Let's see. Enki is the Sumerian god of water, knowledge, mischief, crafts, and creation.
So he's basically. So yeah, I assume that they would have used that as a because he's the good guy God. He's not just some left-hand path weirdo, right? Let's see if I can find it here. Sort by most popular. I'm going to link it to you right now. Give me 1 second. Here you go. And here you go. I'm posting in the chat, by the way. So here you go. Yes. I'm telling you, this is some weird shit, dude. Again, post this on the link. Go pin. The message has been pinned. For those of you who want to know why I keep bashing Satanists, why I keep looking into this stuff as a Catholic, is because I'm seeing a fucking pattern. And when I see patterns, I think to myself, there must be something going on here. Okay? Look into it, watch it. It's a long video, but I guarantee you, I don't like the Wignats, but at the same time, I gotta save them. I gotta make sure they're okay. Watch it later, man. You're gonna get spooked. It's fucking creepy. I don't think Styx is one of the bad guys, but at the same time, at this point, everyone gets looked at. Just like how you don't want some kebab or some Muslim in the airport, shadily looking around like he's scared, right? You'd be scared of that guy as well. I'm scared of these people because they have said on the record, we want political power. We want to take over the world. Look up the Happy Merchant meme, Oscar Toe. Look up who made the Happy Merchant meme. Look up who he is and who he hung out with, and then get back to me. But yeah, that's pretty much that. You can continue if you want, Luke, with the whole with Styx's thought. We're just gonna play it out. Give them the benefit.
It was never really true. I think people conflated them with punks, like the Dark Wavers or something, like the Batcave Goths, or the early wave or something. Anyway, by the way, Ra is also technically Christian, so we're aware, although he was of Jewish background. Actual devil worshippers, 2 flavors: theistic Satanists, number 1, and outright devil worshippers. Theistic Satanists usually interpret Satan as the good guy of the Bible. They believe in a Satan, but they look at it and they say, the only time he did bad things is he's tempting people for God. He's God's tempter. God is evil, probably should just fuck off, and the devil should be in charge of things. They wouldn't generally use that term. They call themselves Luciferian or theistic Satanists. The other group are devil worshippers. They say, oh yeah, the devil's the bad guy. Yeah, man, hail Satan. And then they go and spray a pentagram on the graveyard. There are very few of them, number 1. They are not usually violent individuals, number 2. A lot of it is...
Well, they are criminals. But they are criminals because you're fucking vandalizing a fucking tombstone or something in a graveyard. Someone's eternal rest. But details, right? Continue.
People involved in gang stuff and sometimes like Satan's slaves, etc. There's some witchy iconography there. Again, though, not very common. And even most of those that would belong to those groups, they don't take it seriously. Try talking to them one sometime. 90% of them are not theistic Satanists at all. The handful that are considered a little bit weird, generally speaking. And I've met people who genuinely do worship the Christian devil as the Christians themselves would describe the devil, which is the agent of hell and of evil. For some reason or another, they believe in the Christian way, more or less, and there's always some interpretation involved, depending on their Christian background. But they decided to go in the other direction. It can be due to grief and pain, some psychological problem. It can be due to drugs, or it can be due to just mocking, just saying, fuck it. I hate culture. I hate the world. Hail Satan. Again, though, usually if you meet a person who says, yeah, I'm a Satanist, it's someone who joined the Church of Satan, or like me, was too cheap to buy the fucking card membership and just said they're a Satanist, or they're a pagan. Not a devil worshiper, and not even that likely to be a theistic Satanist. Technically, there are 4 kinds. If you split the devil worshippers into those who reinterpret Satan and those who say, no, the Pope's right about Satan, hail Satan, you get 4 groups. But really, over time, I've figured they're basically the same. It's just about the opinion of the nature of the particular being, but it's the same basic idea. It's theism, the same basic being, Satan. So I've figured that they're only partially differentiated.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so, because at this point it's like saying right wing or left wing. Okay, Bolsonaro may be right wing, but he is not from a common law country. So therefore, what does it matter him being right wing? At the same time, you read John Milton, Paradise Lost. He's going to see Satan as the good guy. So what you really have to focus on is not what people say, but what people do. Okay, that's what has to matter. What they do. Notice how I never said I don't care if they go into the graveyard and do whatever. I was mostly interested in them vandalizing the graveyard or disturbing the peace. That's something that again, same thing with the LGBT, WXYZ, and a silent Q. What you do in your bedroom is fine. Just don't have your bedroom on Main Street, please. Okay. Now, that's all I have to say about Styx. But I'm going to move on here to Steve Bannon because I wanted to do this for the first. I wanted to show this. This is from everyone's favorite "The Sky Is Falling" Chicken Little pool. Here we go. So they're apparently going to be trying to go after Steve Bannon. They're going to try to arrest him. Now, I'm of the opinion, and if those of you out there who want to know more about why I think Steve Bannon's the Russian connection, not Trump. Trump is the good guy. Steve Bannon, and again, if you believe that Trump is bad, ask yourself, look at how the media portrays Steve Bannon. Look at what Steve Bannon has said about, it's the end times. It's not the end times. We're not the end times. Do not let anyone convince you it's the end times. Because if it's the end times, give up. Why not just get drunk and let it all hang out? Why not? Why build something for the next future? You cannot get into the mindset that it's the end of the world. We are not the end of the world. It will never end. We will continue to march forward. Like Nick Fury says, until the world ends, we're going to continue to march forward as if it's going to continue. That's my policy on this podcast. And yeah, we survived through a pandemic. We're surviving through everything, but we're going to make it. That being said, Luke, play the clip.
Federal government is consistently ruling by decree. Joe Biden is defying the legislative branch and the judicial. He is now trying to implement a forced medical procedure on the entirety of the population through coercive means, meaning if you work at a company with at least 100 employees, they must force you to undergo this treatment. We're now seeing the rise of the freedom flu. Apparently, people are calling in sick. It may not be coordinated. But if I were to tell you that a civil war is possible, perhaps many of you would say, yeah, at this point, I kind of agree with you, Tim. Even though a couple of years ago, many of you probably said no. In fact, many of you probably still say no. What if I were to tell you that Democrats may send U.S. Marshals to arrest Steve Bannon for organizing a legal rally or being part of a legal rally, helping to organize on January 6th? Not any insurrection or storming of the Capitol, but they're demanding he testify, and Bannon has said no. They're now threatening to send U.S. Marshals to arrest this man. Yes. If I were to tell you all of those things I do with the collapsing economy, the failures in Afghanistan...
Arrest him. Arrest him. By all means, arrest him. And you know what? If you arrest someone, you have to level charges against him to arrest him. Now, the question is, can they prove that he did this? Can they prove it? Now, I don't want Steve Bannon to go away because I'm of the opinion that the Biden administration is run by the Russians as well. And I have a reason to explain to you why. If you look up a book called Osnova Geopolitiki, The Foundation of Geopolitics by one Alexander Georgievich Dugin, one that's being used by the Russian government, more specifically the Russian military, anyone above the rank of colonel has to read this book. It's required on the required reading list. It talks about how Russia has the right to geopolitically dominate its adversaries as well as its rivals. There's a reason why Russia is in the Ukraine. There's a reason why Russia is using oil monopolies to try to bully the rest of Europe into falling into the will of Moscow. If you look at a book called War for Eternity, and this is for all the liberals out there who think I'm some crazy fucker out there. If you look up War for Eternity, there's a book, I believe it's some gentleman by the name of Tenenbaum. His name is escaping me right now. It talks about the difference between traditionalism and traditionalism in the sense of Norman Rockwell apple pie. Bannon, I believe, is the bad guy. I believe Bannon is the bad guy, and I believe that the Joe Biden administration, which I believe is almost certainly backed by the Russians. And I'll say that because if we look at all of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's, meddling, let's say, in Ukrainian oil, which I'll tell you, I don't know if he's pro-America, pro-Ukraine, and pro for Europe, or if he's pro-Russian. But given the fact that what he did when he shut down all of our oil pipelines, it's strengthening Russia. I believe that what they're going after Bannon to shut him up and shut him down. They're cleaning up. We have to protect Bannon. I don't like Bannon, but I think he is somebody who's a witness. He's a patsy. That's how I see it. Continue, Luke.
Outrage against Democrats and Joe Biden, his faltering approval rating, and then say that we are looking at a civil war. Perhaps you might say it's a right-wing fever dream. But what if I could show you this from MSNBC? Is another civil war really possible in America? From Mehdi Hassan, where he has on two individuals to discuss that. Yes, it is. They mention what precipitated the first civil war in this country, a disputed election, and then the South saying, yeah, we don't play that, we're out. And what about this from Salon? An article, What Lies Ahead? After the damage of the Trump era, can America avoid disaster? Historian Jack Goldstone saw this all coming 30 years ago. He says America's failure is pushing us off the cliff. My friends, when they start sending law enforcement to round up political figures, just listen to their own words in Venezuela. The arrest of the opposition leader is anti-democratic in Russia. Vladimir Putin going after his rival. Now what do we have? Steve Bannon? What did he do? They want him to testify. That's on the marshals to round him up. People on Twitter are saying, arrest him. Filming it.
Let them round him up. Let them round him up. And I'll tell you the reason as to why. They have nothing on him. The clips of him, of what he said, are out there on the internet. There are people who have backed up this shit. Let them. I don't believe Steve Bannon's a good person. I think he's honestly a piece of shit. But I do believe that he hasn't done anything wrong when it comes to the insurrection that happened, or the protests, if you will. I do, however, and again, this is for the liberals out there, I do, however, believe that it was a staged event that happened on the January 6th. The reason I believe that is because if you look up, I believe there was a few tweets on Twitter. There was a gentleman who was talking about planting pipe bombs, and yes, there were legitimate, actual USPS tracking numbers posted on Twitter, specifically stating that they were targeting, I believe, Nancy Pelosi. They were targeting the Biden. Kamala. They were targeting Justin Trudeau. They were targeting Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, what the hell's his name? Mike Pence. They were targeting, they had a list of people, and in the tweet it said, tick, 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 boom, revolution soon, or something along those lines. This has happened. This happened back in, I want to say, December of 2020, around Christmas time. I could send you guys a link for that as well. Give me 1 second. Continue, Luke.
Demanding the arrest. You know what? Same is true of people on the right for, say, I don't know, Hillary Clinton and Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. So it's not about whether you're right or not. It's about the fact that I think it's fair to say both you and I can recognize why Joe Biden should be impeached over the Ukraine scandal that continually gets worse. And the left is adamant that Steve Bannon and Trump and everybody else should be arrested, even though there's no evidence. That's what I love. And you don't worry, my friends. We live in reality. You know how I know? Because the Mueller probe found nothing. And while there were some questionable things being done, for the most part, we all actually covered in great detail what was going on with Russiagate. Nothing. And now we know that the lies about Donald Trump and the call to Ukraine were actually about Joe Biden's corruption, and the system is protecting this man. So how can we accept?
Now the question. Now this is something that this is where I have to start playing devil's advocate for a second. If we look at the corruption index online, and let me see if I can find it here because I have a lot of things I gotta look up.
Are you familiar with Dr. Steve Turley on YouTube?
No, I'm not.
Oh, basically he's I discovered him because of the because now different channels are basically allowed to talk about the Arizona audit, and he was one of them that commented on them. And he's referring to an article that says the Trump and the GOP have already seceded.
Trump and the GOP have already seceded. I'll have to take your word for it. But if we look at the corruption index, if we look at all the nations that have corruption scores, Ukraine is I would say, Ukraine is number 117 on the corruption score. Eastern Europe, people don't understand that even though the communist empire fell, the Soviet Union fell, the Soviet Union and their communist allies are still there. There were still communists on the pulpits in Poland to this day. There's still communists. There are judges there. They're corrupt. Eastern Europe is corrupt. So what do you do in a system that you want political change? You have to be corrupt as well. So there's a little bit of me saying, okay, Biden, you're being corrupt, but I want to know why you're being corrupt. Is it because of the nature of the territory you're in? Is it because, they respect family over there and therefore that's why Hunter has all this extra stuff? Is that the reason? Or are you just baiting with the pigs because you want to be able to, you want to make money? Is that the reason you're doing it? So that's one reason. Now this is the corruption perception index. Now for United States, the United Kingdom is at 11. United Arab Emirates is at 21. United States is at 25 when it comes to corruption. Here you go, for those of you who wanted to follow along. Don't literal Nazis run the Ukraine? No, they do not. That is actually a lie. That's a lie. They don't. And that's actually Russian propaganda. You want to talk about Russian propaganda? Look up tanks to Tbilisi. Look up Alexander Dugin. I keep telling people this. Look these people up. They are the people who are going to take on later on in the war in 20s. I'm not kidding when I say this. So I think, artistically, Luke says it best. I think John is unironically believes in the Norse pantheon. Yeah, I think he is like one of our noble pagan friends. But continue, Luke.
The status quo at this point.
Well, the reason why I brought up Turley is because he's pointing out the fact that their civil war may not even be necessary because the states and the red states and the conservatives and Republicans are like, yeah, we don't have to obey this. We nullify. We're going our own way on this one.
Yeah, let them do it. Let them do it. By all means, I want out also. The big problem here is that we have a lot of people who just keep, who, I'll be frank, are kind of serfs. There's a serf class in California. People who can't afford to run out of California. You know, there are people who can't leave. They just can't do it, right? And then there are people who don't have the ability to do it. There are people who want to leave. And again, all the rich people are leaving California. The people who can't get a leg up, who can't get access to, you know, the capital to leave, they once they get the money, they're going to leave. You know, there are people out there who don't want to leave. There are people like myself, I don't want to leave, but I have no choice. I know I'm never going to own land if I don't fucking get out of California. You know? Continue, Luke.
Which is our government being run by corrupt and evil people. They probably said the same thing about Donald Trump. Suppose the difference is you and I are less trusting, and less agreeable, meaning we need a bit more evidence before we can make a conclusion. It's not everybody on the right. Certainly, it's not everybody who's a moderate. There are many people on the right who just blindly believe it, but I think those of us that are kind of in the middle, kind of regular individuals, and there's an overlap now with people on the right, we can recognize the lies from the mainstream media. And when they actually say they're going to send people out to make arrests of their political rivals, I hope you've been paying attention. You see, there may be
I have, and so far, I have, and a lot of people also have been, because this guy, I swear to you, he's a fearmonger. I don't watch a lot of Tim Pool. Like, I shut off the TV, like, I want to say back in 2012, I shut off the TV because there was nothing good on, right? Mm-hmm. And I haven't watched TV ever since, except for, like, you know, if I'm going to the gym or something like that. But the majority of the people I can't even watch Tim anymore because it's just too fucking depressing. And, you know, I don't want to get depressed. But like I said, this was posted on Twitter. This guy, Mudahar of the Summer Gamers channel, big guy on YouTube. He's a bit of the lefty, what have you, but he even talked about how there were people out there who were posting, you know, USPS tracking numbers, talking about tick, 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 boom, the revolution now. And they were threatening people in DC. You could show it, you could just show the clip if you want, Luke. It's in the chat for those of you who want to follow along. There are shenanigans that happened at the January 6th protest. If you,
yeah, there's a lot of shenanigans. There were a lot of shenanigans in that 2-month period, in that 2-month period.
Yeah. Now, again, I've sent you the link, ladies and gentlemen. Look this guy up. Look up this video. Copy those fucking numbers because those numbers are still legitimate. I've archived them. This is legit. These people, they fucking sent, you know, a package to Justin Trudeau. What the fuck? Now, whether this is a legit threat, a hoax, or something like that, I pay probably too much taxes, to be honest. The FBI should be looking into this. They should not be looking into, you know, Steve Bannon. If they're going to look into Steve Bannon, look into anything with the name Konstantin Malofeev, who is Dugin's wallet. Okay, look into that guy. Let's continue. Let's go on to something else. Let's see. Oscar Toe. The left already does this. Remember sanctuary cities? Yes. And I'll be frank with you. I think we're in a position where society is going to be more and more like, not the Hunger Games, but it's going to be more and more like Athens and Sparta. We're going to have city-states. We're going to have like very much like in the ancient Greek times. So I think that's going to be a thing. Let's see. Oscar Toe also says that is what the conservatives should do: fortify their large state and refuse to comply with the federal government. Exactly, but here's the problem: you have these fucking, I don't want to say refugees. Like if I leave California, I'm coming as a refugee. I'm not coming as evangelical or evangelist. I'm not coming to evangelize to you guys about the wonders of leftism and socialism. I'm coming as a refugee from socialism. Think of me as somebody from as Ayn Rand, and less like Yuri Bezmenov doing his job in India. Gameson says, "Do we ever talk about Eddie Luminov? I don't know who. No, we have not. I don't think we have. Let's look into that, gentleman. Oh, who is he? Oh, that piece of shit. Oh, this fucking National Bolshevik piece of shit. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, we talked about him briefly, but only in the context of Dugin and the National Bolsheviks. He's somebody you can't trust either. Oh, he died in 2020. Good. Fuck him. Die in a fire, you fucking Russian pig. Well, not even Russian pig. Actually, you commie pig, I should say, because let's be frank, the majority of the Russians are probably good people. And let's be frank, I don't want to fight their brothers on the battlefield because of a bunch of Soviet boomers who can't get over the fact that socialism doesn't work. And now they're suffering the consequences of their actions. And no, it's not the Jews. It's not the fucking Muslims. Well, maybe it is the Muslims, because let's be frank, Putin has said that on record that Christianity has more in common with Islam than it does with Catholicism. Think about that for a second. Talked about that guy before. We did talk about him. But Gameson, what did you want to talk about Eddie for? By the way, I kind of want to, I don't know, I want to make a fucking reference to the Ed and Eddie, because that's kind of what they are. But yeah, let's move on. Let's see. So Bannon. Oh yeah, this is something that we're going to talk about, the MAGA problem. This is one of the people I follow on online. His name is Dr. Martin Goldberg. He calls himself Dr. Martin Goldberg. I don't actually know if he has a PhD. He's probably a doctor in the same sense that Jill the Sandwich Biden, is a doctor. She's probably a doctor of stars or something. I don't know. But I do want to get my Jill sandwich.
Welcome back.
I do want to keep playing it.
Oh yeah, the debate between Styx and Richard Spencer.
Which, by the way, both Spencer is a Satanist. I can confirm that to you. He is a Satanist. Faith Goldie, when she was fucking him, she even tweeted out when she had a Twitter account, he's a Satanist. The guy's a Satanist. So these two fuckers are fighting each other. I think it's honestly controlled opposition, if I ever saw it. That's my humble opinion.
Here at Goldberg. Today we'll be talking about this very unfortunate practice in American politics, which I believe prevents people from better understanding their own ideas. I watched this debate between Styx Hexenhammer and Richard Spencer. Now, Spencer is extremely loquacious. He should have stayed in academia. He's not well suited for Punch and Judy politics. Styx Hexenhammer, on the other hand, as I've noted, on balance he's good, but because he cranks out so much content, he has a tendency to give ignorant or just really rotten opinions on major issues. I just didn't realize how bad it had gotten. I mean, this debate was filled with one GOP shill talking point after the other, which is strange for someone who's claiming to be sort of independent and above the fray. Like throughout the stream, he keeps going, I'm not conservative, I'm not libertarian, I'm not MAGA, I'm not part of that. Yeah, but you are kind of, and more than just a little bit. If you remember back in 2014, 2015 timeframe, there was this whole coalition or class of YouTubers who christened themselves as either independents, moderates, centrists, libertarians, or classical liberals. And it's not that they were very interested in J.S. Mill or Gladstone, Rothbard, whatever. They have genuinely nuanced views. It was just that at that time, Obama's second term, liberalism or leftism had a lot of cultural currency, fight the inequality, fight the Wall Street. So these young people wanted to be able to essentially play both sides of the coin. Yeah, I'm kind of on the Republican league, but I don't want to admit it openly. So you have roaming millennial, to a certain extent, PJW, Sargon of Akkad, Styx Hexenhammer, and my favorite.
Yeah, fuck roaming millennial. Sargon's pretty cool. PJW is a fucking coke addict, and no, I have that from good faith from a source I have, one of my moles. And yes, we Digital Renegades have moles in every organization known to man. We have more moles in this fucking place than I would say the golf course in Caddyshack. Okay, we have more moles than they do, and they have more personality than the fucking mole from Caddyshack.
Favorite. This guy wears a beanie hat and he rides the Harry Potter broom on the very top of the fence, making sure he doesn't vibrate too much to one side or the other, even though you know politically where he stands. It's not being a moderate. These creatures, it's like Brian Stelter. He says, reliable sources, and you have to take them at face value. So if any of these people say they're an independent, they're a moderate, they're not MAGA, not conservative, not a Trump shill, you're supposed to just accept that, because otherwise you're disrespecting them. Yeah, but what are you actually doing beyond just saying it? So what I'll do is go through this debate and just not specifically related to personalities, but the arguments that have been put forth, because they're very common amongst people who are either MAGA or, I'm not MAGA, but are. So we'll just take a look at them and a lot of the shortcomings in these opinions. One of the first things he says is the Bidenflation. This is a very popular GOP talking point in recent days. Oh, Biden's created all this inflation. Now, if you're actually trying to be somewhat impartial and you're not just a partisan shill, you would say, but this is part of a much bigger issue, right? It's not just Biden causing inflation. There was inflation under Trump, just like it was under Obama, under Bush. It's the result of a myriad of government policies that have gone wrong. But even just taking Trump, some business industry.
This is true. This is true. This is fucking true. One of the things you have to understand is that just like how a lot of people will love Ronald Reagan, never minding the fact that he basically banned automatic weapons. The reason you can't get your crink off on is because the fucking Ronald Reagan made it so that all guns have to be semi-automatic. The reason why we can't have full auto M16s or MP5s is because, oh my God, automatic weapons. Reagan did that, okay? At the same time, Trump banned bump stocks. He was very much against, he fucking was talking about voting in red flag laws. I'm of the opinion that we have to start focusing on what people do now and not what they say. And I'll give you a case in point. This is another video that I want to show you, Luke. These are two videos. Now I want to ask you, which one of these is the liberal and which one of these is the conservative? Okay.
Oh, what are you saying? A new video?
I'm of the opinion.
Oh, here it is.
We're gonna have we're gonna have two different videos. One is from the Daily Wire, and one is from Obama. One is from the Daily Wire, and I want to see if you get the same energy that I'm seeing. Because I'll tell you this, I'm of the opinion that we need to just kill all the politicians, kill all the teachers, kill all the politicians.
Hello, my name is Eldred.
Teachers and politicians are degenerate. They're degenerate. Both teachers and politicians are degenerate. Show it.
All right. Which one first?
Let's go with Obama first, because we all know what Obama is.
You can't say it, but you know it's true. Good evening, everybody. It is an honor to be here at my last, and perhaps the last, White House Correspondents' Day. You all look great. The end of the Republic has never looked better.
Monkey. Next one. Show the next clip.
Hello, my name is Eldred Abraham. I'm a political exile from Chicago, Illinois. Right now, I'm in Kansas City. My questions for the hosts are, what are your thoughts about secession? Should the red states secede from the Union?
Okay.
Ben, I'm going to let you take that one.
So,
It's great. You must make a lot of money being a political shill. I mean, there's a reason I don't like Roving Millennial or even Candace Owen. And you're going to see, look at Candace Owen's dress. Just, can you move up a bit on just keep playing it and keep looking? Because again, these are the people who you donated to. These are the people who represent you, whether you want to believe it or not. These are the people, like Paul Joseph Watson. These are the people like Roving Millennial. These are the people like Steve Bannon. These fucking people are decadent. They don't represent me. They don't represent File Over Country, but they'll say they do because they say all the talking points. They use the rhetoric. This little fucking animal right here, fucking Ben Christ-killing Shapiro, which, by the way, I want for the record to know that the fucking Talmud doesn't say any of the horrible shit that the white nationalists say, but he'll never fucking correct the white boy. He'll let the white boy get ideologically indoctrinated into Nazism and a bunch of other fucking stupid shit, destroy his social capital, so then he actually can still fear and say, oh my God, the Nazis, guys, the Nazis. He'll never correct them. Same thing with fucking, what the hell's his name? what the hell's his name? Dennis Prager. Both of them are religious Jews, different sects of Judaism. They'll never, ever correct the people when they talk about the Talmud or misquote the Talmud. Why? That's something I have to say. Ask Shapiro and Dennis Prager. Continue, Luke.
The problem is that there is a giant federal government with 2 million people working for it, including a massive army with nuclear weapons. And so on a practical level, one of the reasons I moved to a red state was to personally secede from California, right? Was to move to a place where I was going to be surrounded by people who shared my values and who wanted to educate their kids the same way I wanted to educate my kids. And this is why I'm a big believer in federalism. I do think that the notion that this is going to go quite as smoothly as everybody seems to think it's going to go, that the federal government just says, okay, well, half the country can take off, that there's not a great history of that. What I think instead is that what's going to happen is a fight to destroy the scope of the federal government.
Yeah.
Because either we are going to share country or we're not. And this really will be the question. The question is not going to be, is there a civil war in our future if the government continues to grow this way? Because if the government continues to grow this way, secession will have people.
Look at them. You want to talk to, like, can we put some monocles and top hats on them? These people don't provide anything. Like, I really want people to get this in their fucking head. These people don't represent you. They are so, like, all they do is talk. Like, Candace is only here because she's a fucking minority. Every time, I'm a black conservative. I'm a black conservative. No, you're a conservative, bitch. You're gonna go fall on SJW. Just sit, before you know it, she'll say, I'm a female black conservative, and I'm straight. These people, I swear to you, they play identity politics because they hate the left. And eventually what's going to happen is you're going to become the thing you hate. Now, how much do you think that fucking dress cost? How much do you think these people, like, there are people actually legitimately starving in poverty in California and even in the Midwest because of Biden's inflation. You think she's going to auction that shit off on eBay? You think she's going to fucking give it to the poor? No. These people, they love the sound of their own voice too much. I do not believe these people ever represent me, ever represent the common working man. And I don't think anyone on this level of the game could ever do it. I think people on, the mayoral elections and the gubernatorial elections, and maybe gubernatorial is the closest thing you can get to actual representation without losing signal loss of your message. But these people are fucking grifters. This is what grifting looks like. It's the same thing as what Obama did, just tooting their own horn. So this is one of the reasons why I don't like the MAGA movement. It's not the MAGA people. The average person who wants to, have lower taxes, have his culture, have his people, and, not go to wars. Those people are good. These people are going to do whatever they have to say, wherever the wind blows, wherever the right wing goes, they're going to say the same thing. They do not have your back. I want that to be perfectly clear. You can only rely on yourself. Ben is now a Jewish cowboy. Well, maybe he's from Brokeback Mountain. I don't fucking know. But I'll tell you this, it's fucking hilarious. I will say that. Who are the Ben Shapiro fans? He isn't even likable anymore. Again, Ben Shapiro, he's a one-trick pony. He was designed to go after stupid, brain dump wash, Marxist leftists from college. He didn't do anything other than that. And when people started, grilling him, he just calls them a leftist and said, how dare you actually dig up my tweets? How dare you? How dare you critique me and actually critique what I say? Same fucking thing. Okay, now I'll tell you, he's not as smart as you think you are. And let's be frank, all the people who bitch about, oh my God, the Bushes have their own dynasty. Oh, the Clintons have their dynasty. Look at what they're doing with Abigail Shapiro. Look at Abigail Shapiro. She's only here because of her brother. She's only here because of what her brother has done. I'm not kidding. And even then, what does Abigail do? She doesn't do anything that's useful. She doesn't teach people how to sew their own dress. No, you could go buy it from some Chinese company and then you could be a trad wife. These people are fake. And they're fake because they don't actually know. I want to say it's because their father and their mother were fucking so successful that they never got to taste the bottom. My parents, we went out and we used to, you can turn it off, turn it down, you can turn it off. My parents and I used to go fishing, and we used to go camping a lot. There was Lake McSlane, Lake McClure in California. I don't know if it's there anymore because of all the droughts and shit, but that was the place we used to go to in the 90s. I can remember, sleeping on the ground, sleeping in a tent. I know what it's like to be poor and to be, to be downtrodden. I don't think these people remember what it's like to be poor. I think they know what it's like to be without, but they would never work without a place to sleep. I mean, I can remember hearing stories about Ben Shapiro saying, yeah, I went to college and I was studying to be a lawyer and I didn't really like it, so I dropped out. I'm like, oh, so you dropped out of an education halfway through. Could you please give me that chance at an education? Because I would have loved to be a lawyer. I would have loved to have that opportunity. But, these people are wasteful. And they're wasteful. And, again, they don't know what they have. And I guarantee you, they're the ones who are going to scream bloody murder when all hell breaks loose because they don't know what it's like to be without. They don't know how to undent their car. They think that, oh, my God, my car has a dent in it. They don't think about how to actually get the dent out of their car. My car got dents in it. I learned how to do the hot water trick. You know about the hot water trick, Luke?
No.
Let me show you the hot water trick. Give me 1 second. This is the hot water trick. This is from Life Hacks. For those of you who need to know, I was in an accident and I got hit by a car, a semi truck. My car still runs. It's still relatively serviceable. It is totaled, just like I'm legally sane. This is what you do when you have a dent in your car. Play it, Luke. Hello?
Oh, having a dent in your car?
Yep. This is what you do.
Okay, what is
Get a bunch
this?
of boiling hot water. Now watch this. This is amazing. Boom. Instant button. I'm at the point where I think we should grift the grifters because these motherfuckers have unearned money that doesn't belong to them. We gave them money for the simple fact that they could represent us and report the news. These people have gone decadent, and I really do think a lot of it boils down to the money gap, the wealth gap. They don't know what it's like to actually earn $1 anymore. They don't. Ben Shapiro and I'm not gonna bash Ben Shapiro and all the right wingers. I'm gonna bash the left wingers too. Vosh, the fucking Vosh the Stampede himself. That son of a bitch, the pederast fuck that he is. He makes more money. He claims to be a communist. Where is he giving charity? When is he gonna give the Toys for Tots? When is he gonna give money to charity? For all the talk about him, if I was a communist, you know what I'd be doing? I'd be having like a charity stream every stream. Every time you give me money, it'll go to the charity stream. That's what communists would do. That's what, if you actually believe the shit that you talk about, would do. He doesn't do it. He just takes money. We don't take money. We have like a super chat every so often, but that's only when I was doing when I was taking donations. I don't take donations oftentimes, and even then, I give half of it to Luke. The rest of it, I take in taxes and myself. How many people actually know how to take a dent out of their car? How many of these people who actually, espouse all these right-wing talking points actually know how to repair their own vehicle? They're idiots. They only know one trick, and that's rhetoric. They know how to look good for the camera and say, oh, look, I got the liberal. They don't have any fucking identity outside of hating the left. I mean, look at Shapiro. The guy in the UK, he fucking started actually giving him hardball questions, and he started crying wolf about leftism. It's like the left has become the boogeyman for these people. Let's do some super chats. Oscar Toe says, somehow, even though he is always rich, he was always rich, Trump, I find it more relatable, or at least as an understanding that he is very rare. Well, let me tell you this about Trump. This is something that my mother told me about him. They told me that when his father was working on the construction site and he was with his dad on the construction site, he would go around picking up nails, spare nails that were loose because of like his father was in construction, right? He did that specifically to save money, but also to understand the value of material. How many people actually, help their parents on the job? Parker Benson says genius. I don't know what's genius. I guess I'm a genius. I don't know. Oscar Toe. All these communists seem to be trust fund kids. They do, and again, a lot of these right-wing talking point kids are trust fund kids. Look at Richard B. Spencer. He has a trust fund. One of the things that really got me hating the alt-right was the fact that Charlottesville happened, and when all of those boys lined up on the battlefield to fight communists, what was Spencer doing? He was fucking Faith Goldie in a goddamn hotel room. All the people who espouse these notions of white nationalism, ethno-nationalism, communism, whatever it might be, they don't care about the foot soldier. They're not on the ground with their troops. They don't care about that. And it was at that point when I quit the alt-right, I quit the white nationalists, I quit anything. I'm in it for myself now. I'm like big boss. We're not tools for the government or anybody else. Fighting may be the only thing we're good at, but at least we fight for what we believe in. By the way, Parker Benson has a very cool old snake icon. Getting Dan's out with hot water. Indeed, it is genius. It absolutely is genius, and I'm doing it myself. Problem here is I live in a fucking apartment complex where if I boil the water, I have to go down 5 or 6 stairways just to get to my car and into a parking garage. So it's very hard for me to do that type of shit. But yeah, don't trust anyone who's rich. Don't trust anyone who had a silver spoon in their mouth, when they were born. Let's continue. Let's find something else to do. Let's see what else we got. So we got the MAGA problem, Bannon's problem, the old boss is the same as the new boss. Okay, here we go. This is something I want. This will be a good palate cleanser. Play this, Luke. Here we go. I'm gonna go get a drink of water. I'll be right back. But play this. This is a wonderful clip. This is what I have to deal with in the Bay Area. I'll be right back.
COVID-19 misinformation has now been declared a public health crisis in Contra Costa County. Earlier today, the Board of Supervisors approved the resolution, making it official. KRON 4's Hazik Madyoun reports.
District 5.
Yes.
In a unanimous decision, the Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors adopts a resolution declaring COVID-19 misinformation as a public health crisis. The resolution states that the County of Contra Costa commits to combating health misinformation and curbing the spread of falsehoods that threaten the health and safety of residents. It also states that the Board of Supervisors will develop and support policies and strategies that protect the health and safety of Contra Costa County residents through the promotion of evidence-based interventions.
We need to call it out. We need to clarify it.
The two supervisors who co-authored the resolution say they did so because when it comes to misinformation,
you are welcome to continue saying whatever you wish to say. What we are saying by this resolution is that information is incorrect.
And the reason we brought this resolution, Karen and I, is because we need to do more than just sort of let that misinformation stand.
The vast majority of the Contra Costa County residents who called into the meeting vehemently disagreed with the supervisor's decision.
I'm calling for the immediate resignation of every member of the board.
I got the vaccine, not because I thought I needed it at 56, because I don't want my business to be shut down.
However, the resolution did have some support from the community.
I am calling on to support.
Needs a vaccine for being purple. I find it very hilarious. When I first saw this, I'm like, really? You got a girl named Karen, and despite all the shit that's going on, you got Karen to speak for you? And again, go back a bit, Luke. Go back to where she is. I'm not gonna bully this woman. It's not bullying. Wojcicki, don't hurt me, please. This person, Contra Costa County, you let this, again, Contra Costa County supervisor. I don't know if that's actually like her legit title, but she looks like a Karen, doesn't she? You got the bull dyke cut and everything. But yeah, this is what I have to deal with, ladies and gentlemen. And again, Santa Clara County, when they say you need to have a vaccine, I'm out. I'm leaving at that point. I'm just gonna get the fuck out because I am leaving when they say I'm leaving. I'm taking as much money as I can and I'm leaving. Because I'll tell you, you'd be crazy not to just try to take everything with you, you know? Anyhow, let's continue. Yeah, listen to that lisp. Oh yeah, listen to the lisp. Continue playing, Luke. I want to hear the list.
You are welcome to continue saying whatever you wish to say. What we are saying by this resolution is that information is incorrect.
And the reason we brought this resolution, Karen and I, is because we need to do more than just sort of let that misinformation stand.
The vast majority of the Contra Costa County residents who called into the meeting vehemently disagreed with the supervisor's decision.
I'm calling for the immediate resignation of every member of the board.
I got the vaccine not because I thought I needed it at 56, because I don't want my business to be shut down.
However, the resolution did have some support from the community.
I am calling in to support your declaration that COVID-19 misinformation is a public health crisis.
Hazik Medyoun, Cron 4 News.
Public health crisis.
Such bullshit. By the way, whoever fucking downloaded this, wait till the end and then you get to decide. No, but in all honesty, that list, man, again, not to bash these people. I don't want any harm done to these people. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But at the same fucking time, I mean, do you have any sense of optics? Or do you have no shame? I guess you could say. But yeah, for those of you who want to know what I'm drinking right now, I'm drinking something that my coworker told me about. Great Air Force pilot, former Air Force gentleman, a coworker of mine, told me about Bundaberg. Ginger beer. I've been drinking this as of late. It's not actual beer. It's not alcoholic. It's just really good. Great for your stomach, and it's great to wet your whistle. But let's talk about. Here you go. Let's talk about the fucking Chinese missile problem. And apparently, the Chinese created a hypersonic missile.
Oh boy.
Now, I guess this is from Mr. Obvious, and now they're fucking. I wouldn't even say he's a grifter, but. At this point, anybody who has more subs at this point is kind of being propped up.
We may be witnessing the end of...
Yeah, this is kind of weird.
Yep.
Let's see.
We may be witnessing the end of the world. China just launched a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile into space. It flew around the globe in low orbit at 21,000 miles per hour. Experts say that not only can this missile carry a nuclear bomb, it would render anti-missile defenses useless in the United States. In other words, China just launched the Doomsday Missile. Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Obvious. And today on the internet, we need to talk about China's new missile, the Pentagon, and the utter collapse of the American supply chain, and how wokeness is killing us. So here we are on Twitter with John Cardillo. He says, "We are F." Couldn't have said it better myself. Just in, China tested a nuclear-capable hypersonic glide.
Fuck the blue check mark. I don't care. Opinion discarded. I don't care. If you have a blue check mark, don't talk to me. Keep going.
Vehicle that traveled around the globe, low orbit in space, before cruising to the target. U.S. intelligence and military officials are stunned. But we're going to talk about all this and more. But before we do, remember to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for updates for future content, and if you like these videos, if you like this content, you want this channel to keep going, share these videos. Sharing the videos is the most important thing you can do to help the channel. Now, we've got a lot to break down here, but first, a quick word from our sponsor. All hail the Carrion King. Introducing a new high fantasy novel about a...
There we go.
Today. And we're back. All right, let's jump right in, folks, because this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. Like, this is literally the most terrifying headline I've seen in ages. Here in the Daily Mail, Beijing blasts nuclear-capable hypersonic missile right around the globe. Terrifying new missile travels at 21,000 miles per hour, circles the Earth in low orbit, and would render U.S. anti-missile defenses useless. So this was a report
I doubt it.
I
doubt it, because what's going to happen if it hits some sort of air traffic control? What trajectory did it go on? Did it go around like the Arctic? Did it go around from the Arctic through, again, for them to launch a missile around the orbit of the Earth, they're going to have to, we're not even, what is it? Let's see, hypersonic missile to the low orbit. So is it still in the stratosphere? Is it still in the, is it in like is it going around like a below radar or above radar? What are we talking here? Like, again, I'd imagine if they did this, if it fucked up, it could have fallen on, let's say, some sort of, some other country and China would be at war with them, right? I really doubt this to be the case. I think a lot of this shit is propaganda, but at the same time, don't be a target. Now, I'll tell you, as Californians, California has a lot of gays and a lot of liberals, but it also has one of the most biggest military a lot of military bases here. Okay, we have, I think it's Mount Umunhum. We have, I think it's Del Toro. Do we have Del Toro? I don't think we have Del Toro. We have Moffett Air Base. We have a bunch of cool places here in California that have a lot of military strategic value. We're going to get hit, but here's the problem, though. Do the Chinese want to go after us because we're liberals, or do they want to go after us? Because I'll tell you, if they hit us, everyone's going to get on board. They won't. I don't think they'll ever target the Americans. I don't think they will, or at least the Californians. I think they'd rather target, Texas or Florida. I keep going, look.
Showed China had made astounding progress on hypersonic weapons. U.S. intelligence was caught off guard as the U.S. is one of 8 nations developing their own hypersonic missiles. Here, the story says, according to a report from the Financial Times, which cited 5 unnamed intelligence sources, said the Chinese military launched the Long March rocket in August, carrying a hypersonic glide vehicle into low orbit. It circled the globe before descending on its target, which it missed by about 24 miles. The hypersonic missiles can reach speeds of 21,000 miles per hour and can strike anywhere on Earth from space within minutes. The system would be able to overcome U.S. anti-ballistic missile defense systems that are based in Alaska and set to shoot down projectiles coming over the North Pole. The Chinese system would be able to strike the U.S. from the south. U.S. intelligence officials are stunned, saying it shows that China has made astounding progress on the development of its hypersonic weapons. We have no idea how they did this, a person familiar with the test told the FT. My friends, I can't describe just how shockingly bad this is. We have this graphic here saying how a fractional orbital bombardment system would evade U.S. missiles. I mean, basically, you take your vehicle into space, the space vehicle drops a bunch of missiles, and you're pretty much dead. Your radar wouldn't catch it, your missile defense systems would not catch it. It would happen too fast. And sure, the missile missed the target by a couple dozen miles. But we don't even have a missile that has done this. China is 10 years ahead.
That we know of. They're not going to let the public know about it, fucker. Seriously. But I do believe that they're going to use this to knock out the Pacific. If they ever do this, they're going to target the Pacific Fleet. Sorry, Hawaii. Looks like Pearl Harbor might be Hawaii and Guam, and maybe the Pacific, and I'd say the Aleutian Islands might be targets. But I don't think they're going to target anything else. They're going to try to isolate the United States away from its fleet. I guarantee you that's what they're going to try to do. And they may even target the Panama Canal, just so they can't resupply people without going through all the way around the Horn of South America. Yeah, keep going, Luke.
And this is a really scary thing. I want to show you this other story, folks. Here in the New York Post, check this out. Pentagon's first software chief quits because China, quote, has already won the global tech war. This is a story that came out in the past week.
You pussies. Seriously, get the fuck up, you pussies. Why don't you hire me and I'll fucking get this shit done? Hire fucking me. Stop hiring the fucking MIT cunts. Hire me. Keep going.
That I feel like a lot of people ignored. But I saw the story, folks, and it is more relevant than ever. Look at what it says here. The Pentagon's former software chief has quit because China has already, quote, won the tech war, guaranteeing global dominance. He went on to say that U.S. government systems were kindergarten level. Nicholas Chalin, 37, told the Financial Times on Sunday there was a good reason to be angry at the U.S. failing to rise to China's cyber threat, even fearing that it puts his children's future at risk. He said, quote, pay attention. We have no competing fighting chance against China in 15 to 20 years. Right now, it's already a done deal. It is already over, in my opinion. Nicholas, 37, told the paper. So this guy, Nicholas Chalin, a Pentagon software chief.
No, seriously, who cares about this guy? Do you think this guy gives a shit? This guy has a smirk on his face. I already know this guy's a fucking rat. This guy would suck dick he'd suck sinew dick. I guarantee fucking to you. The cocks.
And he's saying things like China is 10 to 15 years ahead of the United States in AI and cybersecurity, and Lord knows what else. You're telling me now that China launched this super high-tech missile that goes into space and can strike anywhere on Earth and can carry a nuclear bomb. I highlight the story not to scare you, not to say that China is going to win, because honestly, I do not believe that the United States will lose. But I want to highlight the fact that right now, the United States is weak. We are, compromised. America is compromised and at risk. But what is the big man doing himself to save us from China? That is President Joe Biden. Well, don't you worry. He's hard at work, taking Jill Biden, his wife, for a romantic dinner at a Michelin star restaurant. Oh, wait. Right. He's not doing shit. Here on the Daily Mail, date night. Joe and Jill Biden head for a romantic dinner at a Michelin star Italian seafood restaurant, Foie l'Amour, in Washington, D.C. So while China's launching their hypersonic missile, while the supply chain in America is collapsing, what is Joe Biden doing? He's getting some fancy food with his wife. Wonderful. This is a joke, folks. The problem is that America is currently being run by clowns, and I mean that in every sense of the word. They are a laughingstock, an absolute joke. You got this practically senile man. You know, you see these pictures here of Joe Biden walking out of this fancy restaurant. His wife, the first lady,
Go back a bit. You playing? Chinaman right next.
An absolute joke. You got this practically senile man. You know, you see these pictures here of Joe Biden walking out of this fancy restaurant. His wife, the first lady, couple of useless dolts. Nothing makes me angrier than these folks.
No, seriously, who's the Chinese guy? I want to know who that guy is. And yeah, I'm being a little bit racist here, and I am racially profiling here. But real talk, who the fuck is the Chinese guy right there? I want to know who that motherfucker is. Is he with him? Is he part of the Secret Service? Is he fucking the guy's handler? Like, I want to know. And you say, this is racism. We're at war with the Chinese. And these aren't just Chinese. They're Han Chinese supremacists. You know, I've oftentimes told people that Mexico, for example, is not a race. Mexican isn't a race. It's a nationality. The Chinese, I would say they're a bunch of tribes. They never actually had any sort of, overarching culture. When we say Chinese, we think of Han Chinese. We don't think of Uyghurs, for example. You know, we don't think of, the warring states and the different groups of people. So we can't actually be racist towards Chinese. We can be racist towards Asians, but I want to know who this guy is. That's all I would say. I wouldn't want anybody near me who has connections to China. I'm just saying. That's just me being a dumb bigot, old fart fogey that it is. But yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, how much of these people like Mr. Obvious and Carl Benjamin and Candace Owen, how much of them actually contribute to the demoralization by trying to talk down the United States? How many of them actually do? You know, Beanie Man keeps running his mouth about, oh my God, civil war. We're not going to have a civil war. And I want, for the record, if you guys defect, if you leave, I'm going to fucking bring you back. I'm going to fight for the Union. No joke. I'm going to fight for the Union. I'm not, as much as I sympathize with the rebels, we can't afford you to defect, especially nowadays when you might have nuclear armaments on you. Okay, we can't afford to have the Midwest defect, especially if they have nuclear weapons. Just goes with the territory. Anyhow, that's pretty much it. Luke, any final thoughts? Hello?
Welcome. And just so you know, we are a family of allies in this house. Here's a card with all my social handles, just in case you want to check out my feeds or tag this.
Can you not hear when I'm playing?
No, I can't hear you because it's fucking... I'm sorry, man.
Okay, I can fix that now. I'll fix it right here.
Welcome. And just so you know, we are a family of allies in this house. Here's a card with all my social handles, just in case you want to check out my feeds or tag this super diverse and progressive hang. All right.
Is this a reality prank show?
What is that from?
The Harper House. It's a CBS's latest streaming animated series.
It reminds me of The Good Family. You ever seen The Good Family?
I have not. But I imagine it's very similar. Well, I imagine it's basically a cartoon series but the joke is that the man and the woman are playing their inverse roles. Like the mother is the bumbling breadwinner, and the father is the stereotypical traditional housewife.
Here you go. Here's. You can look at this later on. It's roughly the same thing. It's by Mike Judge, called The Good Family. Same thing. But I will look into that. Anyhow. Do you have any... Again, because of the fucking internet. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but... final thoughts?
Please excuse our principal, Dr. Morocco.
Is he another victim of my wife's invention?
No. Most likely it's, recreational substances. He's a very mysterious man, but really great. On paper.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Take good care of one another. Next week, I will do a gaming stream, and I will hopefully... The internet will actually work this time. Ladies and gentlemen, be good to one another. Take care of one another. Remember, the same